Alan Taxi, thank you for travelling your way to the Twitter programme and tweeting @ValueRater the latest news. Now, this is very interesting as it unravels. I hear you're a very reliable source, Alan, and you've tweeted us to let us know that Aidan O'Brien is going to be holding make or break talks with William Darby, clerk of the course there at York, over exactly what the going is like. Now, if Glen Eagles doesn't make it because of soft ground, surely that rules Golden Horn out slightly as well.
No, I don't think it does, actually. I mean, I think the only reason that, I mean, it was very soft at Ascot, don't forget. The only reason that Mr. Gosden didn't run that day is because of what it was called Swindley Bottom. It was obviously very soft in there, but he did say that if it was run on the straight course, that he'd have no problem. The only way I could see Golden Horn not running here if it was generally very soft ground, and I'm not so sure it's going to be soft. I mean, I think if it was good to soft, I think Golden Horn would run, but it's still a concern. A horse with a very scratchy action would be a big concern. I mean, I'll be batting. Before I had this news, I was batting against it at the price, and because I just think it's a bit deeper race than that. Did you want to start with Golden Horn?
Yeah, we can start with Golden Horn. I think that the main thing to say here is that this horse leads the field at around the 4 to 6, 4 to 7 mark. Make no bones about it. Dual Group 1 winner, Derby winner, Eclipse winner, comes here with the best form, has form on the track in Group Company. How can this be opposed? Yeah,
I've still got the problem at the trip a little bit. I mean, I know the Coral Eclipse, I was saying, I'm not sure, you know, he still, for me, beat a horse who really is a mile-and-a-half horse. They've obviously got a pacemaker in here. They're going to put plenty of pace in. The ground's obviously a concern. Now, it was a very good performance against the Grey Gatsby, but he was the first one at it against Grey Gatsby. Grey Gatsby was kind of there. I thought the horse had a hard race, actually, and I thought it was, you know, for a furlong he took past. For a horse that's meant to have all this speed, he took a furlong to go past the Grey Gatsby. And if you watch the race back again, the Grey Gatsby gets beaten 3.5 lengths. If you watch the closing stages, he's on a length behind the horse everywhere until about 100 yards. I'm just wondering whether the Grey Gatsby was feeling Royal Ascot, which was only a few weeks before, and not quite, you know, in the closing stage of a horse that I know stays further. Golden Horn's a very good horse, and many will be screaming at the TV at the moment, say, what you're talking about, he's won over the trip at York before, but he had the run of the race. There was a furious gallop that day to it. If you remember, it was Jack Hobbs' second run, straight out of a handicap from winning on a bridle, who was drawn wide. Elm Park was having its comeback run for Andrew Bolden that day. They went a suicidal gallop, and Golden Horn, I thought during the journey, for the first half a mile, I thought the horse was flat out. I don't think it could have gone any quicker, and then as they come into the home bend, all right, he has swept high and won easily, but I think he had the race to suit him that day. I'm not saying Golden Horn, I'm not going to be sticking my head on the line here and say it absolutely won't win. All I'm saying is I have got reasons to think that this horse, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I believe this horse really stays.
I don't think that John Gosden's missed that, though, in the Eclipse. He saw that Golden Horn was out there in front and just managed to stretch away in the end. Now John Gosden fields Dicked Out Willie is out there as well. The pace-making angle could again play into Golden Horn's favour further.
Well, you know, when I read it in the paper the other day and they were making out that the pacemaker was actually to upset Glen Eagles, who was going to be trying the trip for the first time, that really exposed it. I didn't think that. I think Mr. Gosden realises that the likes of Time Test in this race and other horses that have shown a good turn of foot, I'm not sure he has got that much of a turn of foot. Golden Horn, when he won the Derby and they went a real good gallop, if you'd have stopped that race at a 1.25 mile point, then he wouldn't have won. Jack Hobbs would have won that day. And Frankie even said, and I'll never forget it, when he came off the horse, he said, I was a bit concerned turning in. He said, I got a little bit outpaced. That's over a fiercely run classic at the 1.5 miles. Again, you know, I'm not saying the horse can't win. What I'm saying is, for me, pricing this race up, I've got him 6 to 4, not 6 to 4 on.
OK, well, I think there's giant question marks that we'll talk about now for Glen Eagles. Before so, maybe worth quoting what a couple of the jockeys have said about the chances and the duel that presents itself to us in tomorrow's Juddmonte International. Mick Cannan really fancies Golden Horn, says that he thinks the race is set up with that Dicked Out Willie in there now. And Johnny Murtagh, obviously ridden bundles of winner for Aidan O'Brien, you'd surely think was in the Glen Eagles, the Coolmore camp, but no. He says the race is set up for Golden Horn tomorrow and should narrowly edge it. But of course, the one question which remains unanswered is the trip angle for Glen Eagles. If Glen Eagles improves markedly for the step up in trip, let's not forget this is a 2,000 guineas winner, an Irish 2,000 guineas winner as well, you know, the dual 2,000 guineas winner. Last time the guineas winner subsequently met the Derby winner, 1992, and Lester Piggott was the winning jockey. Joseph O'Brien tries to, of course, repeat that, and Glen Eagles, does he really fill you up in terms of the trip?
No, he doesn't, and that was before I heard the news about how the ground's gone. I'm pretty sure that they won't run him. I mean, they know, and he definitely wants it rattling quick like a road. I mean, even good ground they'd be prepared to pull him out on, and I just think that he won't run tomorrow. Let's just cover him just in case he does. On his form, it's a little bit mixed. It wasn't a great pace. I didn't think the St James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot, you know, the seconds come out and been beat at Glorious Goodwood in a Group 3 when a short price favourite, but Concert has, you could argue, improved, and of course we're behind Interlag at who I like at Newbury. So I looked at that, but that again, it was up 2 furlongs, and just wondering, I'm not sure that at this time of the horse's career, when they were saying, look, this is the best miler we've had, whether I really want to see him at this kind of trip. And I'm definitely against him now because of the ground, but before that I was no. I think the horse, you know, I think the horse is a miler, really.
Okay, well, number 3 on most people's cards. I'm seeing if we're getting, you know, that game where you say warmer, hotter. I don't know whether we're getting there now in number 3.
But in the middle.
Time test in the middle. The question, I suppose, is time ready for York Test?
Yeah, I like Time Test, and I was all over him when he won at Ascot. I thought he was an absolute banker.
Absolutely facile victory in the Tercentenary.
Yeah, it was, and I think we highlighted him at Newbury in that London handicap, saying, look, this horse I've got on my ratings 122, and I believe that he is very much that. Now, the problem I've got is visually, yes, it all looks very impressive, and before I sat down and looked at the race, I thought to myself, I'm sure I'm going to be putting this up. But it's funny, you know, I'm very concerned. When you go through the form, the second hasn't been out, Peacock. If you go through the form, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, everything that's come out of the race has been beaten, and been beaten, you know, hands down. So if you're back in Time Test tomorrow, you're doing it on pure visual reputation, but going through the rest of the field, nothing's come out and won.
Now, one thing that Richard Hughes said, you said about Peacock, I heard the word Peacock. Richard Hughes said, you know, I was on Peacock when he was beaten by Golden Horn, and I was on Peacock when he was beaten by Time Test. And he gave the impression that he was rather impressed with Time Test victory. Now, looking down at the odds that we've got here, these, by the way, for the audience, were taken last night, was it, or today? Midday today, the general prices around the horses at the moment. Time Test, 5 to 1. That seems quite large to me.
Yeah, I'm concerned about his overall form. I mean, I'm obviously a form man, and when I went through the form in behind, I thought, well, it couldn't have worked out any worse. And you've got a horse going into, you know, stepping up in class. He does look, you know, like he could be very good. But then I started thinking, well, you know, what's he beaten? You know, it's not like the form has all stood up against everything else. So I can let him win.
Argue against it. Yeah, well, let's slip down to the double figure jobs there. Number 4 on the card, the Grey Gatsby here. Prince of Wales, unlucky. No more we need to say on that. We know exactly what happened on the day there. Eclipse, of course, no excuses behind Golden Horn. But I wonder whether in a Juddmonte International that might be fuelled with pace given by Dicked Out Willie, that a bit more stamina comes into play and the Grey Gatsby could sneak a place. Yeah,
one thing I am sure of, this is going to be run at a clip that, you know, Mr. Gosden, he's not one to, you know, tell a few porky pies. I think when he says that he's got the pace in, he'll put it in. And I think Golden Horn will track that pace. And I think the likes of Time Test will try and use its turn of foot to be held up at the back of the field, as will be the Grey Gatsby. Now, this is my selection for the race. He's got to find 3.5 lengths for the Coral Clips over 1.25 miles. It wasn't a great pace, was it? I mean, it was Golden Horn, made all, dictated it. I don't know, in a faster run race, which we know now, that especially now the rain's come, it's going to be more of a stamina test. I've always seen this horse as 1.5 miles, and I always thought that he would carry on to win Group 1s. It was the visual impression he gave me at Sandown, as I mentioned before, is that, as I said, he stayed on, Golden Horn's tail about just a length behind until just for, it looked to me like you could almost say he didn't stay. And I know that's nonsense. I just wondered whether perhaps, he's overexerted from his, what was, there's no easy race, is there, at Royal Ascot, which he had there. But don't forget the Grey Gatsby first time out this season. Of course, he was very closely matched with Postponed. Yeah. It was obviously Frank the form there. I think he's been overlooked here, basically, on that run, because people are saying, well, how can he beat Golden Horn on that? But this is a very different race. That was more tactical. This time, Golden Horn, he's not going to be duelling with a Golden Horn and basically having a game of, right, who can quicken up to the line. And at 10-1, at the moment, we've got all 8 runners, but I do think one's going to come out. But either way, I think the Great Gatsby is definitely in the value play, and he'll be there or thereabouts. And
there's concerns for Glen Eagles, who's desperate for rattling quick ground. Golden Horn will no doubt like it gooder, firmer if possible. But the Great Gatsby's performed with a bit of juice in the ground over in France, and of course the French Derby, and turned up for the books, beating Australian in the Dante. This horse does have a turn up for the books and does have a turn of foot in soft ground.
I mean, when we're looking at the Grey Gatsby, when we're talking, obviously I do my own ratings. I mean, Golden Horn on his best form, I've got 1-1-3-3. Glen Eagles, I've got 1-2-4. Time Test, I've only got 122, and at the time I thought, oh, perhaps I need to mark that up. But how the form's worked out, I'm not sure I do. The Great Gatsby on his very best form, don't forget, he beat Australia. I had him performing to a mark of 130 that day, which on its best form is only £3 behind Golden Horn, and I think he's a huge player tomorrow.
Wait for Age Allowance set to play its game again?
I mean, yeah, obviously it's going to. I mean, at this time of the year, they say it is more beneficial to the start of the season. I've been reading form for a long time. I'm not sure I think that's a wise tale. I'm not sure that is, I don't think that is quite true. But, I could see Great Gatsby overturning that form, or if not, go very close. And we've got, 6-4 on against 10-1. I know what I'm doing.
Fair enough. Value Raters class act for the Juddmonte International is?
Yeah, the Grey Gatsby.
The Grey Gatsby, 10-1 shot, Value Raters class act there. And fair enough as well, a horse that's proven itself at the highest level this season as well, proven itself with a little bit of dig in the ground, and will certainly like the rapid pace set to be given by Dick Doubt Willie on the day tomorrow there. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. Also on the card tomorrow, a race for the stayers, a bit of a trial for the St Leger. It's the Great Voltigeur Value Rater. Now, we did actually gave an early preview to the St Leger, didn't we, 2 weeks back, where you gave the foolproof guide of how exactly to back a St Leger winner. Does the Great Voltigeur play a big part backing a St Leger winner?
Massive. This always turns out, along with the Gordon Stakes, this is a real key indicator to it, because of course, like we spoke about a few weeks ago, this is where we see horses, or some horses, stepping up from slightly lower trips up to the 1.5 miles to fit that criteria, which I like, with that speed and getting a 1.5 miles. I must say, this race was a real conundrum for me. I really enjoyed it, actually. It took me a long time. And with races like this, I don't know why, but I find the harder the better for me, because you can really get in there and find some value, and I think I have.
I don't think I could pick the winner of this one, to be quite honest with you, just because I look at it and I look at number 1 in the betting, Storm the Stars, is around, here we go, around a 3-1 shot. Now, I think been on the go for a little bit too long. I look at Balios, and I think that hasn't quite turned out to be the horse that we thought it might be. You look at Tashar, and I think this horse is just running Class 3 company. How can we take it on from there? The Godolphin runners, they're too short a trip at this. Madrano, not for me, but I know you've got other opinions. And I just think, I mean, there's got to be a winner in here somewhere, but they all look like losers to me, Value Rater.
If we start with Storm the Stars, who's the favourite, I can't possibly have him at the price. He is down in class. Of course, he's been running in Group 1 company. This is a Group 2, the Voltigeur. I must say, he has been getting well beat in Group 1s. It's not as if, when I put him up for the Derby at 33-1, I mean, he was beat a long way. I know Jack Hobbs went and franked the form, but over in France last time, in an even meeting of 1.5 miles, couldn't do it there either. He was actually beaten 3 1/4 lengths, closely matched on that run with Balios.
That was the most disappointing piece of form yet from Storm the Stars, was his most recent run in France, in Paris. Do you take that piece of form is the most important piece of form going forward, or are you happy to search back through your papers and say, well, no, third in a Derby, and love the way he ran in that Cooked Hat Stakes at Goodwood, and happy to look through the previous form, or do you have to look at that most recent run in France, which disappointed all?
To be honest, I had him running to the same mark as he has done all season. I've had him as a strict 118 horse. Well, 118 for a Group 2 race isn't what really will get you to win it. I just think he's a bit of a plodder. Storm the Stars. He doesn't do anything very quickly. This track might help him. I'm sure that he wouldn't mind, some rain that has actually come. But for me, he's atrocious value. I'll tell you one thing, and he won't be winning any Ledger.
Okay, sponsors have actually put up the winner of this Voltigeur Stakes to win the St Ledger, so any of those that go on to St Ledger at 9-2. Storm the Stars a 3-1 shot. If he wins this, will be definite favourite for the St Ledger. Balios, if he wins this at 4-1, will be definite favourite for the St Ledger. Would you be happy to take that bet? The winner of this race will win the St Ledger?
Well, I hope so. When I come to my selection, yeah.
Anyways, it's a great guide to go on, of course, trip and class all in one. Now, one that really hasn't been there in terms of the class is Tashar. Unexposed, obviously, we'll give you that, but coming from Class 3, unbeaten, we'll give you that again. But See the Stars, by See the Stars, a brilliant breeding in this horse, but just might get out-muscled in this company for the first time.
Do you know, he's the one I'm worried. He could be anything in the race here. He's priced around 9-2. The price doesn't entertain me because I think he's the right price, but he needs to be given the utmost respect. He was mightily impressive at Goodwood, having looked a big baby for a good, for a good mile. He looked very, very green, not knowing what to do. But when that penny dropped inside the final 2 furlongs, he was another one when you're like, well, you're watching it, the way he quickened up, and he was heavily eased. The length and a half he won, it could have been double, it could have been treble that. The second horse has come out and actually been second to a horse called She's No Lady of Mr. Beckett's. I know it was only a Class 4 Newmarket she was touched off. That was a good race, I think, that. And the third horse come out and Frank the Form in the Class 3 handicap. So even though it's a Class 3, I've actually rated this horse 115 on that performance with a plus. So you see what I mean? I'm saying against Storm the Stars, it's only got £3 officially to find, and the trip would be absolutely no problem. And I don't think that the little bit of rain would have been, but my overall concern is, one, the price I think is correct, and more importantly, just slightly concerned that is a horse having its third start ready for this.
Yeah, well, I mean, Frankie Dettori doesn't mind getting animated on a horse to get it going, but didn't really have to do that on Tashar, as you say, was heavily eased to the line, and this horse should have a gigantic plus sign next to it if you are to give it a rating. Next up in the betting, 4, 5 and 6 is of course the O'Brien clan come here again. Bondi Beach, Giovanni Canaletto aloft. To me, the 4 and 6, the 9-2 on Bondi Beach, the 8-1 on Aloft, at least look like two horses that would prefer the St Ledger trip rather than this great Voltigeur trip.
I mean, I can't have this, but this Bondi Beach, I wouldn't want to back it at 20-1, not alone 9-2. He don't look very classy to me. He holds his head all high. It just looked horrible to watch last time when he won his Group 3. They fitted the tongue tie for the second time on the horse, but Order of St George did go and Frank the Form, but he was 1-5 favourite. So what kind of race was that? I can't see this at all, this Bondi Beach, and at 9-2 he has absolutely no chance for me. What
do you think the 9-2, where's that come from?
I have no idea. I suppose Forgotten Rules was in the race last time, was beating 8-13. Well, if Forgotten Rules ran its race, then yes, you could argue, beating that horse 6.5 lengths, but oh no, no, Bondi Beach for me he's not even a runner for me. And
Giovanni Canaletto gets another crack over the 1.5 mile trip. Of course, was backed actually on Derby Day, wasn't he? Quite nicely. But 7-1 this time. I think I'd rather flip that over Bondi Beach in this race.
I mean, well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but when you look at the betting, again, he's just far too short for me. I mean, Storm the Stars have already beaten him in 5.5 lengths. You know, is there much discrepancy in 3-1 to 7-1 for 5.5 lengths? It's just senseless to me. The horses, again, was beaten behind Storm the Stars in the Derby, and the next time it ran, Storm the Stars put more distance. So I can't have that either. And
this Aloft, this seems like a hardened stayer. 2 miles is more up his street, isn't it?
Yeah, he obviously's got some speed. He did actually beat Storm the Stars over a mile trip in his career, but I watched his run last time at 2 mile on and off the bridle all the time, and again, he certainly wouldn't be for me. I mean, looking at this market, it seems to be that you can start thinking, oh, now I see why Storm the Stars is 3-1. You know, where I've gone down them and thought, well, I can't have that, I can't have that. I can't argue that Storm the Stars shouldn't be 3-1, but I think we're about to come on to it now.
I was going to say, is there a play in this race? Because as I sort of posted up before we said, I've written all of these horses off. Now, of course, one of them must win the race. That's exactly what happens. And number 7 at the bottom of the card will be doing rain dances with the last weather that's falling down there. Medrano loves soft ground, hasn't really been up to much, to be honest, but you recognise the way that he pulled the hands out after the race at Goodwood, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I did put him up as a tentative, you know, if you're having an anti-post bet, it was Medrano, and that isn't the reason that I'm sticking him up tonight, just stick to that. I was quite surprised, actually, going through the race, that I come to him, you know, he ran last time in the Golden Stakes, and he was beaten in the race 7 1/4 lengths by easily
beaten
by Highland Reel. If anyone watched Highland Reel win over in America, it absolutely bolted up there on a Saturday night over a 1.25 miles. So this form might just be a little bit better than what we're giving it credit for at the time. But just to talk about Medrano, the reason I didn't entertain him at Goodwood that day is I remember seeing him when he ran against Mr. Singh and Storm the Stars at Goodwood over the mile 3 at the beginning of the season. He was lugging him behind. He's not very comfortable on that track at all. There wasn't much of a pace. It was beneficial to be up in the van, as it turned out, and he was really finishing at the line. And as I said, in the pull-up area, he couldn't pull him up. The ground was good. When he had soft ground the time before in a listed race, he went and beat Prince Gagarin 6 lengths in that race.
Over which trip was that? Just thinking of
mile 3.
Mile 3, because yeah, Prince Gagarin's not really the stayer they thought he was, and a mile 3 is probably about the optimum trip, so a fair piece of form this.
Fair piece of form, and especially on the ground, he took me by surprise. I mean, this race that I'm talking about before, which was the Cockham Stakes at Goodwood, I mean, he was only 2 lengths behind Storm the Stars on that run, and, you know, and I'm saying that Medrano didn't handle the track. Mr. Singh was in that race. He beat Mr. Singh a length. Must remind everyone, you know, he's near enough favourite or round about that for a ledger himself. I think this kind of track is going to be absolutely ideal for this horse. Let's not forget the reason why this is such, and it's targeted as a ledger trial, is they're very similar tracks. They're left-handed and they're galloping. What I just hope is there's going to be some pace. I can't see, you know, the obvious pace. Maybe Aloft with the first time blinkers on for Mr. O'Brien, and it stays 2 miles, wants to get on with it. But Ballios now, even the ground's gone against that for me, wants quick ground. Ballios there. I say I do respect the Hannon horse, could be absolutely anything that, and he's the one that probably, I mean, he's not entered for the St. Ledger. If he was to win this, and I imagine that the checkbooks will be getting out to supplement him. But Medrano, I put him up at 25-1 for the St. Ledger some weeks ago, and I'd urge people to go and have some of that 14s tomorrow.
And talking of supplementary entries, of course, Covert Love's just been supplemented for £35,000 for the Darley Yorkshire Oaks. Value Rater says, it does next to me. I get the feeling that you're interested in that one, but it is something to watch out for, and something I would have thought, I was going to say, before I go on, but just give a quick summary of the race, who you're tipping up for this one.
So Medrano. Yes, Medrano definitely at 14-1. I can understand why Storm the Stars is favourite. Ballios won't go on the ground. The Hannon horse at 9-2. You know, if anyone wants to get involved tonight, I wouldn't put anyone off having a saver on that horse. Bondi Beach, absolutely no chance. The same as Giovanelli, Canaletto and Aloft. I don't quite know what to make of that horse, but I don't particularly like horses coming down in trip from 2 miles to a race like this. But Medrano, it's just unfortunate we got the 7 runners for the each way play, but that's huge value, and get on.
Okay, bit more value, get on, says value rater Medrano, as well as the Grey Gatsby will pay you some 140 to 1 double, probably play it as an each way double. But as I was saying before, and we cut to a quick summary of that race, was you see the £35,000 supplementation of Covert Love. Can your customers of the value rated subscription expect to see a few tips coming their way during the Ebor Festival?
Oh, absolutely. I say most days. I must admit, I've had a look tomorrow. Obviously, these are freebies, 2 races today. I did have a look tomorrow. I thought it looked incredibly difficult tomorrow, so I'm not sure if they'll be having any tomorrow. But definitely, as the week goes on, there'll be more. I mean, the service guarantees 3 investments a week, but there's bound to be more than that as we go through the week. But when you hear news about this ground, you know, I'd rather wait till tomorrow morning to have a proper look, really.
Okay, so keeping a few in the hat and obviously waiting by your phones at home, especially if you text value 10 to value rater last week.
And we had, I thank everyone, we had real good response from that last week.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I've had to buy an extra text bundle this week. It was so many. So thanks for that. And to say, anyone who has done that, and obviously I always recommend a level staking plan on all selections.
That's it, another text bundle is in the game. But no, so just to reiterate, those that did text value 10 to value rater, I hope you are now enjoying your value rater service. And hey, don't miss out, just give us an email, value.rater@outlook.com, or do tweet value rater @value rater. As simple as that to get involved with the subscription. Any topics that we've spoken about this evening, get involved, let us know, give us the latest news on Glen Eagles. If you'd like a little part on the show, a little tipping section of your own to say, then give us a call. Away from this tipping, the value rater, the interactive side, there's another bit of value rater news coming up, and that is that you can hire value rater. Tell us a little bit more before we cut.
Yeah, you can do. Just go to the website. There's a hire value rater page at valuerator.uk.com, and that is saying just that. It is, you know, you might have a corporate do, you might want to learn how to do some research, you might need some guidance at the races, anything you can think of, it's there. So just drop me a line. It's very competitive rates for that.
Okay, superb. And any other highlights of the week to mention? Anyone that's tweeted you with anything relatively amusing?
No, there's mostly just abuse. But, no, all jokes aside, I must say actually that Covert Love that we've just been talking about, I marked her performance up. There was a bit of form that happened beginning of last week, and I went through it and I thought, I marked her performance up. You know, I was questioning it and I said to her, what was it? I've marked her up now, but on the 124 mark, that's a serious mark for a girl. And even though I wouldn't advise anyone to back her now for a St. Ledger, because I just think it's too short at the moment, she has got a big say in that race, I feel.
Okay, thank you very much, Value Rater, for your class acts this evening, and thank you to you at home. A few tweets that I didn't quite get a chance to read out at the very beginning. Nigel Welch, thank you to you. He says that he doesn't think Glen Eagles will run. Well, as I'm saying this, it may well be a discounted comment anyway, as I'm waiting to hear the latest news. Chris Rock, he thinks he'll get pulled if the ground gets any worse. And Glenn Middleton, play Golden Horns in a Glen Eagles match bet. Get on, says Glenn Middleton. Lastly, Jeremy O'Leary, horn to come first as per usual. Jeremy O'Leary and all the rest of you guys at home, thank you for tweeting us. I hope you have enjoyed the show this evening. I hope you enjoy your week at York. Don't forget Juddmonte International tomorrow, the biggie, the Betway Great Voltigeur on the card as well. And if you missed our preview of the Ebor handicap, that's all available on YouTube. We'll see you next week.